All right. I don't know if it's the media, the so called terrorists, dumbass politicians, but however this whole scenario is playing out about the terrorist attacks in France, the terrorist attacks in France, each one of these instances, each one of these terrorist attacks, the way they are presented, even with all the bullshit narratives, surely most people have to realize by now that people like myself, the ones that actually are telling you the truth, you have to accept and embrace that fact now that, yeah. I mean, come on, is the gig not up yet? I mean, think about it here. Was it 100 and some people dead, hundreds more injured, maybe another 100 on the critical conditions list, blah, 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 blah. And how did it all happen? I mean, think about this now. After 9/11, which is, September the 11th, 2001, we are now in November of 2015. So that's 14 years plus, right? Later, after the fact. After the massive, I mean, think about it. You had the financial crisis. You had all the surveillance revelations by Edward Snowden. I mean, we all know. Look at the extent. Look at the shit. Your central planners, your collective overlords. Look at what they've implemented since then to try to find those needles in the haystack, those terrorists, right? And stop and thwart any efforts. How's that worked out? I mean, even after the TSA revelation that proved that, 90% of the cases, more than 90%, that people, the supposed ones that were testing the system, well, they could get away with they could have taken bombs on planes in 95% of the time, every time. What was it, 70 airports and 60 some, almost out of 70 airports, it was 60, I don't remember the number, but high 60s, mid 60s of the time that they were able to sneak whatever they wanted past them. So, I mean, this whole concept of fighting terrorism, I mean, and first of all, like I said, like I always say, let's define the terms, shall we? Well, what is terrorism? I mean, we all know it's, a political ideology or a political platform, whatever that's meant to instill fear in the population. So really, governments are predominantly the biggest terrorists on the planet. But even if you play along with their narrative that these boogeymen are the terrorists, it's still terrorism is a concept. Terrorists, there's no such person that you can point to and say they're a terrorist. They use the ideology of trying to instill fear in others, which is what we call terrorism, right? The proper definition. So destroying terrorism, fighting terrorism is like saying, I'm going to fight against an idea. You can't destroy an idea. I mean, you could, all the nuclear bombs in the world, except for, I mean, I suppose if you destroyed every human being on the planet, where there was no longer one human being left on the planet, you could destroy an ideology, an idea, because there wouldn't be anyone left to implement that idea and carry out the actions that would be needed to follow through on that idea. But short of that, even if there was only 10 people left on the planet, even if you destroyed everybody on the planet, save 10, one of them might still possess the idea of terrorizing the other 9. You can't destroy an idea. No amount of fucking war efforts, no amount of missiles, no amount of bombing, no F-18s, F-35s, B-52, no amount of any destructive capacity, instrument or implementation can destroy an idea, because an idea is a concept. Do you not get that? This whole narrative that you've been listening to for all these years, are you not finally coming around to recognize and realize that it's all complete shit? All it's used for the most part, is to control and dominate you. They want to instill fear, hatred, bigotry towards other people that they want to oppress and suppress, and hope that you will follow along. That's it. I mean, look at France. This plays out perfectly to show you how bullshit their fucking narratives are. All the mainstream pundits, you've heard it all, because I guarantee, even though most people don't know much about the genuine facts and objective reasoning that's needed, they'll know all the propaganda that's put out because it's so widespread. Even if you don't pay attention to news, there'll be somebody who will tell you. But think about it. France has some of the strictest gun laws on the planet, right? I mean, France, like, you gotta have permits, registrations for your gun. You gotta have background checks, da-da-da-da-da. I mean, they got multiple layers, right, to protect the people so that bad people don't get weapons. Well, all of a sudden, these terrorists, some that even lived in France, or whether they come through as an immigrant, all the bullshit narratives they tell you, is still, the end result is still that they had a bunch of AK-47 and assault rifles and all these weapons and were able to carry out their duties. What was it, like 7 of them or something? That's not very many, man. Fuck, little inner city gangs have way more fucking members than that. But they were able to carry out their operative where they destroyed the lives of, maybe hundreds of people. Killed them. And in addition to all the gun control, which basically all gun control really does, I'm sure you must realize by now, is disarm the general public so that they're at the mercy of whatever fucking psychopaths or sociopaths. But see, that's the thing. The control freaks are like, yeah, I don't want... Well, but there's only a small segment of society or those psychopaths. We make up the biggest representation of psychopaths and sociopaths. So, you know what? Yeah, we better keep gun restrictions as part of the platform, because even though, it'll probably be detrimental at some point in time, at least they won't be able to come at for us, right? For the most part. Or at least it reduces the likelihood of that happening. And that's just the gun rights issue. We're not even delving into, which I'm going to right now, mass surveillance. Mass surveillance. All the Western countries, and I mean, France is definitely right up there. You know damn well France is head deep, neck deep, into their eyeballs into this mass surveillance bullshit. How'd that work out for them? Spending billions, hundreds of millions of dollars every year, spying on everybody. Did it stop this attack? Not even close. Not even close. So think about it. Every example, all of these things, when they happen, all these incidents, these terrorist attacks, they just keep proving time and time again how right people like myself are. I know you keep rejecting and hoping that someone will give you a better narrative and you'll be able to put up some kind of bullshit argument against us, but you not realize they've run out of excuses. Their narrative is dead. It's a failing model. How is it still working on you? What's wrong with your brain? What's wrong with your understanding, your objectivism? Oh, yeah, that's right, too. You've been indoctrinated into the collective, the ideology of the collective, the religion of statism. Do you not see? It's not... What more evidence do you need? The police, the military presence, I mean, thousands and thousands of troops after the Charlie Hebdo, remember? You know, the guy that, I don't know, painted or whatever, he's an artist, you know, the guy in France that did the thing about the Muslims, and then there was the attack after that, right? They had thousands of military personnel, police, security, everyone on heightened alert after that. Didn't do shit here, did it? Your sense of security that your overlords give you is complete bullshit. It's complete bullshit. They try to pretend that they can put this dome over you, but there's nothing there. Your belief in their ability to protect you is completely How you haven't come to realize that by now? Although I'm sure some The gears are starting to whirl around a little quicker now and wondering, wait a minute. I'm sure it's starting to happen. I'm not happy for these people that have had to suffer through this shit. Who would be? It's terrible. I mean, no one wishes. I don't wish death upon anyone, not even my worst enemies. I just want to be left alone for the most part, like most people. I mean, if someone came to personally attack me and wanted to kill me, of course I'm going to defend myself, and I will take their life before they'll take mine. But do I really wish it upon? Do I wish death upon another person? No. But if you place anyone in a position where it's their life or someone else's, yeah. Self-preservation, that's built into the human psyche for most people anyway. That's not going anywhere. And if it does, well, that means humanity's going to cease to exist. So lose. That's all. That's the only scenario you're presented with. The only way you will ever win, the only way humanity, liberty, peace, freedom, prosperity, the only way any of that has ever existed and flourished in all of human history is to suppress the fears and hatred and promote individual liberty and freedom. Wonder how quickly these guys could have been subdued if the people of Paris weren't fearful but armed and courageous and had the ability to stand up to these I don't know what psychopaths, sociopaths, ideologues, right? Let them keep spewing whatever shit they want. I actually think it's helping the cause of liberty because they fuck up. I mean, you can't. I've used this narrative a few times. I know, but it's like the Ptolemaic system. They just try to confound, confuse, make everything seem so impossible, implausible, and difficult, which is why this continues to happen. It's not that difficult. Allow people to arm themselves and defend themselves against others. Promote individual rights. And this stuff it'll be like, hey, where did it all go? Just like it happened just not even 100 and some years ago. We went through an entire century before World War I, World War II of relative peace around the entire world. During the Enlightenment era, when individual rights, prosperity, when true philosophy of liberty was being promoted and propagated to the masses, that was the most peaceful time in human history. Just because many have fallen off that wagon, people like myself are standing by, hands open, trying to help everyone back on that wagon so we can get back on that path to peace, prosperity, and liberty. Join us. The whole world will thank you for it. Skinny Libertarian, I love liberty.